Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the May 5th Town Board meeting. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Jeff Ranahan, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Michael Safone, Fourth Ward.
Stefan Cracker, Fifth Ward.
Ann Schurshin, Sixth Ward.
Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, attorney for the town, with
Sarah Ryan, Vandewater and Vandewater.
John Baisley, Town Supervisor. Welcome everybody to tonight's Town Board meeting. On tonight's agenda, the first one's a public hearing, Chapter 210 relating to signage in the Hudson Heritage District. 2 is a public hearing for a stormwater annual report. 3 is a public hearing for Cablevision Wappingers Falls DBA Altice, which will be opening that public hearing, closing it with no comment to a further date. 4, set a date for a public hearing on motor service facilities moratorium extension. 5, set a date for a public hearing on Town Code Amendment 210, adding vehicle fueling station floating overlay district. Number 6, set a date for public hearing, Town Code Amendment 210, adding College University Conference Center use to the institutional district. 7, authorize a car show Locust Grove. 8, authorize tax cert settlement, Selden Properties. 9, accept certificates of attendance as zoning board members. 10, authorize Eastdale Second Fridays on Cottage Square event. 11, authorize the supervisor sign agreement with the county CDBG coronavirus grant. 12, authorize the supervisor sign a letter of interest, New York State Hudson River Estuary Program. 13, accept the resignation of Anthony Stein in the building department. 14, appoint Tony Master Giovanni as water maintenance mechanic. 15, authorize water meter pit easement, Courtwood Ventures. 16, notification of following notice of claims been referred to legal, Murphy versus the town. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item on the agenda.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody that would like to speak to any item on the agenda besides a public hearing? Doreen, go ahead.
Okay, Jay, so you're not doing the public hearing yet, we're comment on the agenda items?
Correct.
Okay. So I do have a question about the letter of interest to the Hudson River Estuary Program. Wasn't exactly clear what you're trying to accomplish. Could you briefly talk about that?
Yeah, it's for a study for down in the Hamburg area of the flooding and what could possibly be done to alleviate some of the flooding with the property owners.
Okay. Then my other question is on number 15 about the water meter pit easements for Courtwood Ventures. And I know, Jay, I briefly talked to you about this, and not exactly sure what they're going to be doing on that property. But again, that's a parcel that has wetlands on it. I believe floodplain, part of the Casper Creek may flow through there. So again, it's not enough for the town to have a, natural resources inventory and wetlands protection, and when you have these things and you don't really do the maximum that you can for wetland protection, it's sort of it defeats the purpose. So again, I don't know exactly what this is, but we should be trying to discourage disturbance to wetlands and wetland buffers. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Anybody else? Anybody else? No? Motion to resume the rules?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Can we make a motion to open public hearing number 1, amendment chapter 210 relating to signage in the Hudson Heritage District?
Someone needs to second that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Doreen's have her hand raised.
Is there anybody here to discuss Hudson Heritage?
Doreen?
Jay, I would, yes. can I speak now?
Go
Yes,
ahead.
you can.
Okay, so, yeah, I have a comment on this. So, the second whereas on page 2 of the resolution, it states that the town board received a recommendation from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development, in which it recommended that the town rely on its own study of the facts. But what the recommendation from Dutchess County Planning actually said was the department recommends that the board rely upon its own study of the facts in the case of the above comments. So were the comments from the Dutchess County Planning taken into consideration? There were 5 comments, and the one in particular that I was commenting on is the one where it said that the town should bear in mind that regulating signs on content is not permitted by federal law, and they recommended that the board confer with its attorney to ensure compliance with Reed versus Town of Gilbert standards. So was that done?
Mr.
I can,
Go ahead, David.
okay, I can answer that to the extent that Doreen, I'm sure you can understand. I can't divulge attorney-client privileged communications in the meeting, but the reason why the whereas clause is framed that way is because under state law, under the GML, if the county had objected or recommended denial of this petition or of the zoning, then that would trigger a supermajority requirement in the vote. In this case, because the county said it's up to the town board, we were just reflecting that in the whereas. It wasn't saying that we hadn't considered the other comments in the county letter. It was just a recognition that the county did not recommend denial, so that a supermajority.
Okay, and I am familiar with the supermajority requirement, but I guess my question is, as a town taxpayer, have you considered their concern that regulating signs on content is not permitted by federal law?
Yes, yeah. This isn't a content-specific regulation. It's a regulation as to aesthetics and size, so it's comfortable.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Doreen?
Not for this one, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like to discuss this public hearing? If not, can I have a motion to close public hearing number 1?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Jeff?
Whereas the town board received a communication from the plan department recommending amendments to chapter 210 entitled zoning and to add 210, 125.2 entitled signs permitted to HRDD district and to amend 210.9 and 210-131F. Whereas the proposed amendments with the language to be added, underscored, and the language to be deleted, stricken, are attached here to Exhibit A, and incorporated herein with a minor addition suggested by the plan board, allowing up to 35 square feet signs on certain buildings. The town board does hereby waive a verbatim reading of said amendments and does direct the said amendments to spread across the record as if they in fact had been read verbatim. And whereas the town board has considered the proposed amendments in the process summarized below and finds that adopting the proposed amendments would benefit the town by providing regulations in the HRDD to control the design of signage for the proposed redevelopment of 156 acres within HRDD as a mixed-use, pedestrian-friendly, residential, and commercial development. And whereas the town board previously served as the lead agency in a coordinated review of the project under New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, wherein the town plan board served as the involved agency which covered zone amendments, development master plan, site plans, subdivisions, and numerous other approval actions necessary to pursue the project. And whereas after conducting a multi-year comprehensive evaluation of all potentially significant adverse environmental impacts associated with the project through the preparing of an environmental impact statement, the town board adopted the secret findings statements in accordance with 6 NYCRR Part 617 dated December 6, 2017, finding the project avoids or minimizes potential adverse environmental impacts to the maximum extent practical by incorporating various mitigation measures and conditions to set forth and finding statements. And whereas on April 7, 2021, the town board declared itself the lead agency for a secret purpose to review the proposed amendments and also determine that said actions to constitute a type 1 action under SECRA. And whereas on April 7, 2021, the town board referred the proposed amendments to the town planning board, the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development, and adjacent municipalities. And whereas on April 20, 2021, the town board received a positive recommendation from the town planning board with a suggestion that the town board consider revising the total allowable area of wall sign on certain buildings to increase to 35 square feet. And whereas April 22nd, 2021, the town board received a comment letter on the proposed amendments from the town of Hyde Park relating to the size of lettering allowed on certain signs. And whereas on April 30th, 2021, the town board received a recommendation from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development in which it recommended that the town board rely on its own study of facts and comments provided in considering whether to adopt the proposed amendments. And whereas after reviewing the proposed amendments, an environmental assessment form relating thereto the above mentioned comments and conducting a duly noticed public hearing on May 5th, 2021, the town board finds that adopting the proposed amendments with a minor addition suggested by the planning board allowing up to 35 square feet signs on certain buildings would not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts and would facilitate the project in accordance with the thresholds and mitigation measures deemed appropriate in the town board finding statement such that no further environmental review would be required. Now therefore being enacted, the town board has reviewed the EAF prepared by the Director of Municipal Development as well as the town board finding statement amongst other consideration, and hereby determines that 1, the adoption of the proposed amendment in form of annex hereto as Exhibit A with the minor addition suggested by the planning board allowing up to 35 square foot sign on certain buildings would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and 2, an environmental impact statement will not required for the reasons set forth herein, and 3, a negative declaration is hereby issued. And be it further enacted, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby adopt the local law amending Town Code 210 entitled Zoning, specifically to add 210-125.2 entitled Signs Permitted in the HRDD District, and to amend 210-9 and 210-131F in the form annexed hereto as Exhibit A with the minor additions suggested by the planning board allowing up to 35 square feet signs on certain buildings, and be it further enacted, and that said local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any questions on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh.
Or go ahead.
Go ahead.
Is this allowing for larger signs or smaller signs than what we allow in other areas of town, like in the business highway zone?
It's larger. Go on.
So it's actually not larger than the other districts, but it's not as small as some of the other, like places like Arlington, for example, where we require smaller signs, based on the pedestrian environment. This was something that was worked on with the developer, basically, and in recognition of some of the national tenants that they have coming in to the project. So there was, some compromises that had to be made for that reason, but it's certainly not larger than, what's allowed elsewhere in the town.
Well, for the Eastdale Village Town Center, is this consistent with that? Or
No, it's not.
larger or smaller?
It's larger, definitely larger. Yeah.
So I guess my question is, accommodating the national tenants, if you go to Hilton Head, South Carolina, the national tenants accommodate the local zoning, not the local zoning accommodates the national tenants. So I'm not always a big fan of Best Buy needs a huge yellow Best Buy lettering on the side of the building in Poughkeepsie, but it doesn't need it in Hilton Head. So they seem to comply with local ordinance when they want to come in. So I mean, I guess Mike, I would rather have it stay consistent with other town centers, because the idea of a town center is supposed to be that it's a walkable community type area. So I don't think you need the oversized signage necessarily.
No, Stefan, if you look at the
My
two
two
town
cents.
centers, Eastdale and the Hudson Heritage Project, they're different. The tenants are different. Eastdale has no drive-throughs, where Hudson Heritage has drive-throughs and different things. So it's, as much as it's a town center, it's not as village setting as a town center as Eastdale Village is. It's a little open, so that's why it's a little wider, because you'll be driving more through there and looking at the size of the signs. And it's not as big as Route 9 or those corridors, but it's not as small as Eastdale Village, which is definitely a 100%, you know, I think walkable center where you will get out of your car and walk to 40 or 50 stores. It is a little bit different.
Yeah, and this also has significant acreage of retail in it, and it is large, and they were concerned that people wouldn't be able to see to connect themselves to their next stop. So that's why they wanted larger signage.
Really?
Yeah, and they did come in, and they were in front of the planning board, and they actually brought in many different sign options and did work with the planning board in one of their meetings on the signs, the design of the signs, the kind of material used for the structure of the signs and so on.
Yeah, and my question actually dealt with what Ms. Tignelli brought up too, that we have looked at these comments, and we're not gonna have a problem down the road going against the federal law here with having content on the awning signs instead of just having the name of the business. I mean, this was looked at, and this is gonna be okay, correct? Michael? David?
Yes, well, David, I think you probably want to answer that.
Yes, yeah. It's content neutral. In other words, you're not regulating what a specific person can say or cannot say. So we're comfortable with it.
Okay.
Anybody got any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1. Brings us to public hearing number 2, the annual stormwater report. Motion open, public hearing number 2.
Second.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any comment on public hearing number 2?
We're looking for anybody to speak on public hearing number 2. Hello?
There we go.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody like to comment on public hearing number 2?
Yeah, Jay, I had my hand up, I'm not sure.
No, go ahead, Doreen.
Okay, so I would like to say that, as I do every year, I will be submitting written comments on the annual stormwater report. And again, I think more needs to be done to ensure compliance with all DEC and state regulations. And again, some of these issues end up being water quality issues. And since the town is so concerned about water quality these days and being a member of the Hudson 7, I think it's very important that you be monitoring compliance on these sites. And again, construction site runoff is often a problem when it comes to pollution, and erosion and sediment control really needs to be monitored and inspected. And I think a better job needs to be done, but I will be elaborating on my written comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Anybody else? Motion to close public hearing number 2.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Carlos.
Resolution number 2. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept the draft stormwater annual report prepared by the town of Poughkeepsie Director of Municipal Development, and be it further resolved that said report has been filed with the town clerk's office for review and comment by any interested party and has been posted on the town's website. And be it further resolved that the legal notice of public hearing was posted on April 23rd, 2021, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on April 27th, 2021. And be it further resolved that on May 5th, 2021, a public hearing was held at the regularly scheduled meeting of the town board. And be it further resolved that The public review and comment period ends at 4 p.m. on May 14th, 2021, when all written or oral comments are to be submitted. And be it further resolved that the town board does direct the Director of Municipal Development to review the comments and prepare for filing the final report, which is due June 1st. So moved.
Second. The motion second. Any questions or comments on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. This brings us to public hearing number 3. I'd like to make a motion to open public hearing number 3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I'd like to table public hearing number 3, adjourn public hearing number 3 till June 2nd, so we can fill the board in on what's been going on and make sure everybody's filled in on what this is, and we'll come back out on June 2nd and reopen the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Brings us to number 4, Mr. Safone.
Whereas the local law 10 of 2020, Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie enacted a 9-day moratorium on the acceptance and processing of applications for the consideration and approval by Town Planning Board of site plans and special use permits for motor vehicle service facilities, which include gasoline filling stations or sell gasoline. The issuance of building permits for such uses and the consideration, approval, and issuance by the Zoning Board of Appeals of variances and interpretations relating to motor vehicle service facilities, which include gasoline filling stations or sell gasoline, subject to certain exceptions, and is subject to extension moratorium. And whereas the town board is currently undergoing a comprehensive review of the town of Poughkeepsie zoning code as relates to motor vehicle service facilities, which include gasoline filling stations or sell gasoline, and is currently working with the board's consultants to draft amendments to the zoning code. And whereas by local law 2 of 2021, the town board on March 3rd, 2021, extended the moratorium for a second 90-day period. Whereas it is the town's desire to complete its review of the zoning code and the subsequent development, consideration, and ultimate adoption of any proposed amendments in a deliberate and appropriate manner. And whereas the second 90-day moratorium period is set to expire on or about June 5th, 2021, and it is anticipated the town board will need additional time to complete this process, and accordingly, the town board desires to extend the current moratorium for one final additional 90-day period. And whereas the town board determines the extension of the moratorium is a type 2 action and not subject to environmental review pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.5 C36, now therefore be resolved that the recitations above set forth are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. Be it further resolved that the town board, Town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby set the 19th day of May 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, as the time, date, and place for a public hearing in which all parties in interest and citizens may be heard as to whether or not the town board, Town of Poughkeepsie, should adopt the proposed local law annexed hereto, renewing the temporary townwide moratorium as described therein for an additional 90 days by this town board. And be it further resolved, the town board, Town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby waive the verbatim reading of the said proposed local law and does hereby direct the town clerk to spread the proposed local law across the record as if it had been read aloud. Be it further resolved, the town board, Town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby direct the town clerk to review a copy of this resolution, the annexed proposed local law, and the notice of public hearing to the municipal clerk of each abutting municipality not less than 10 days prior to said public hearing, and to refer a copy of this resolution, the annexed proposed local law, and the notice of public hearing to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for an advisory review in accordance with 239M of the General Municipal Law, and to distribute a copy of this resolution, the annexed proposed local law, and the notice of public hearing to the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board for its review and recommendation pursuant to the Town Code 210-154. And be it further resolved, the town clerk is hereby directed to post a notice of the public hearing in the town's official newspaper, the Poughkeepsie Journal, and on the bulletin board maintained by the town clerk in Town Hall, not less than 10 days prior to the said public hearing. So moved.
Second.
Get a motion?
Second.
Second. Any questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Number 5.
Number
Stefan.
6. Right?
No, number 5.
5.
This is a
Is
city.
it the, that's the one regarding the institutional zone?
Second Fridays.
No,
Number
no,
5.
Number 5 is Town Code Amendment, Chapter 210, Resolution 55. It's a second one for the fueling station, for the overlay district.
the.
All right, I got you. All right. Whereas the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie has been undergoing a comprehensive review of the town zoning law as it relates to motor vehicle service facilities as currently defined by the zoning law, which include gasoline filling stations or other facilities that sell gasoline. And whereas the town board recognizes that gasoline filling station facilities that sell gasoline, hereinafter referred to as vehicle fueling stations, are a necessity for the continued economic function of the town, but that responsible legislation is necessary to properly integrate such stations into the local community and the town's land use patterns, and to regulate station development and preserve and advance public health, safety, and welfare. And whereas the town board has worked with the Director of Municipal Development and consultants to formulate draft amendments to the zoning law with the goal of allowing vehicle fueling stations to continue to operate in the town without unduly impacting community character and local transportation networks, particularly in residential neighborhoods, as well as in a manner that is protective of the general health and safety of the town. And whereas the town board is considering amendments to Chapter 210 of the zoning law by adding Section 210-42 entitled Vehicle Fueling Stations, Vehicle Fueling Station VFS Floating Overlay District, as well as make other related amendments to Chapter 210. And whereas the proposed amendments are attached hereto and incorporated herein, and the town board does hereby waive a verbatim reading of said amendments and does direct that said amendments be spread across records as if they in fact had been read verbatim. And whereas the action to amend the zoning law is a Type 1 action under New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and whereas the town board has determined that the proposed amendment must be referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development pursuant to Section 210-155, and to the town planning board for review and recommendation pursuant to Section 210-154. And whereas the addition of Section 210-42 to the zoning law requires a public hearing pursuant to Section 210-156, now therefore be it resolved that 1, the town board hereby states that because this action is legislative in nature and only the town board can consider and adopt changes to the town code, and the town board is the only involved agency, the town board hereby declares that is the lead agency for purposes of coordinating the environmental review of this matter pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law. 2, that the town board hereby sets a public hearing on the proposed zoning amendment attached hereto for June 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may come to be heard in Town Hall, 1 Overrock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. 3, the town board refers this matter to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for recommendation pursuant to GML 239-M. 4, the town board refers this matter to the planning board for an advisory report pursuant to Town Code Section 210-154. 5, the town board directs the town clerk to provide for public notice of said hearing per Town Code Section 210-156 in the general municipal law. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the town board has received a petition from Vassar College requesting a zoning text amendment to add a new use to the institutional IN zone, allowing for a conference center of certain properties owned by a college or university by special permit zoning amendment. And whereas Vassar submitted the proposed zoning amendment in connection with an application to build the Vassar Inn and Institute project, a 50-room inn and restaurant conference center totaling approximately 48,000 square feet with a parking and pedestrian improvements and road access from College Avenue, located on the same lot as the existing Alumni House at 157-171 College Avenue in the town of Poughkeepsie, tax parcel 6161-12-795630, which is under review by the planning board. And whereas the town planning board is serving as lead agency to evaluate the petition and the application in accordance to seeker, and on April 15th, 2021 issued a negative declaration. And whereas on April 15th, 2021, the town planning board also issued a requisite advisory report on the zoning amendment pursuant to Article 14, thank you, of the town zoning ordinance, in which it recommended that the town board adopt a revised version of the zoning amendment as reflected in the draft attached hereto. And whereas the revised version of the zoning amendment attached hereto is incorporated herein, and the town board does hereby waive a verbatim reading of said zoning amendment and does direct that said zoning amendment be spread across the record as if it in fact had been read verbatim, and whereas the town board desires to conduct a public hearing on the version of the zoning amendment attached hereto on June 2nd, 2021, and whereas the town board also desires to refer the version of the zoning amendment attached hereto to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development and municipalities adjoining to the town per the town code, now therefore be resolved that 1, the town board hereby sets a public hearing on the proposed zoning amendment attached hereto for June 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be heard in the Town Hall, 1 over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, and 2, the town board directs the town clerk to provide for public notice of said hearing per town code 210-156 and the general municipal law, and 3, the town board directs the town clerk to send a copy of the attached version of zoning amendment to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for additional review under the general municipal law, as well as to municipalities adjoining the town of Poughkeepsie pursuant to section 210-155 of the town code, and 4, the applicant is directed to send notice to adjacent property owners per section 2110-156B in the town code. So moved.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Number 7, be it resolved, the town board of Town of Poughkeepsie has hereby approved the application submitted by Locust Grove Estate, the Young Morris Historic Site, to hold a car show on Sunday, July 11, 2021, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the site at Locust Grove, 2683 South Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. Be it further resolved that a certificate of liability insurance naming the town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured has been filed with the town clerk's office. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the town board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the settlement of the tax certiorari proceeding instituted by Sutherland Properties LLC for property located at 2519 through 2521 South Road, grid number 134, 689, 6060-02-975536-0000 for the 2020 tax assessment roll as shown on the attached stipulation of settlement and order of judgment. And be it further resolved that the town board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor or his designee, town assessor Jennifer Mund, and Kyle Barnett of Vanderwater and Vanderwater LLP to sign such papers as are necessary to effectuate this said settlement. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion.
Second.
Any questions on this one? All
What
those in-
property is this?
Where Table Talk Diner is and
Oh.
that little plaza there.
Okay, all right.
It's it's about almost 3/4 empty right now. Yeah. All those in
Yep.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Resolution number 9. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept the certificates of attendance for Anthony Diaquani, Anthony Straka, and Carl Whitehead for webinar training presented by the Dutchess County Planning Federation entitled Zoning for Food Trucks, copies of which are attached. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the town board of Town of Poughkeepsie has heretofore received an application submitted by Shelby Adrian to hold an event called Second Fridays on Cottage Square, located at Cottage Square, 44 Eastdale Avenue North, Poughkeepsie, New York, on Friday, May 14th, 2021, June 11th, 2021, July 9th, 2021, and August 13th, 2021, and September 10th, 2021, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Whereas the presence of food vendors is a vital part of a successful event, now therefore be it resolved, the town board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby include the food vendors, or vendors of food participators in the event as peddlers and hawkers, and these vendors are thereby exempt from the provisions of Chapter 151 of the Town Code. And be it further resolved, the town clerk is in receipt of a certificate of liability insurance naming the town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured. And be it further resolved, the town board, town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application as submitted for said event to be held on the above mentioned dates. So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any
Second.
questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the County Dutchess has applied for and been awarded a community development block grant, coronavirus CDBG-CV, and has been given the authority to allocate funds to eligible municipalities to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the coronavirus pandemic. And whereas the County of Dutchess has authorized the town of Poughkeepsie to receive partial payment of this grant award in the amount of $15,950, and as part of said payment, the town of Poughkeepsie is required to execute an agreement with the County of Dutchess. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to execute the attached agreement with the County of Dutchess in substantially the form presented. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this? Just that
Yeah,
this-
what was used to determine how much we'd get versus how much somebody else,
It wasn't,
another municipality
Stefan.
get?
It was a grant that we put in for what we wanted, and this was based on needs to open the senior centers. So we put in for like filters, dividers, PPE supplies and different things, and it came to 16,000. And we may change around a little bit, but that's what we put in. Most towns got about the same amount. They told us, probably stay close to 15,000, so we stayed a little
Okay.
close, yeah. And it's all based on the senior centers. It's all to get the senior centers back up and operational.
Yeah, that'd be good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the town of Poughkeepsie adopted the New York State Climate Smart Communities Pledge by resolution on April 18th, 2018, and thereafter appointed a Climate Smart Task Force, and whereas the task force hopes to have the town achieve Climate Smart Community Broad level certification within the year, and whereas the town is in the process of completing a comprehensive plan update which has funding in part by the NYSDEC Climate Smart Communities Grant Program and by the Hudson River Valley Greenway, and it has completed a natural resource inventory and an open space plan which was funded in part by NYSDEC Hudson River Estuary Program, and whereas the town of Poughkeepsie would benefit from being a host in the community for the NYSDEC Hudson River Estuary Program, Cornell University Department of Landscape Architects Climate Adaptive Design CAD studio during the fall of 2021, which the studio participation will assist the town with a closer study of the historic hamlet of New Hamburg, which sustains significant flooding during the major rain events and river surges. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to submit a letter of interest to the NYSDEC Hudson River Estuary Program to become a host community for the studio during the fall of 2021, and be further resolved, the town board finds that participation in the studio, which involves studies and the gathering of information and data, is a type 2 action requiring no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any questions? This came to us through our new grant writer, and I want to thank Mike Welty for reaching out, and Jeff for getting letters of support, and the CAC for getting letters of support from the neighbors down there, because our park in the Hamburg floods, and there's a group of homes down there flood. Part of them are a floodway, and in the floodway there's not much you can do, so any help we can get alleviating that problem would be beneficial. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does accept with regret the resignation of Anthony Stein, deputy building inspector with the town of Poughkeepsie Building Department, effective April 28th, 2021. So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
That was, oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the next one.
Ready? Be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Tony Mastro Giovanni to the position of full-time water maintenance mechanic with the Water Department at the salary of $27.30 per hour, effective May 24, 2021, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a
Second.
second. Any questions?
Yeah, I just want to say that I know that myself, Jessica, and Mike, we did an interview with Tony, and like I said, he's going to be a great addition. He has experience from 2 other towns. I know the town of Yorktown and City of Peekskill, I think since 2013. He comes with a CDL, so sounds like he'll be a great addition to the
Great fit.
team.
Yeah, it's a good thing he's going to the water department, because if he's going to the sewer department, he's built like the rock, he wouldn't fit in the hole.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Resolution number 15. Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to sign grants of water meter pit easement and rights of way, each with Courtwood Ventures, Inc. and 240 Van Wagner Road Holdings, LLC, and any supporting recording documents in regard to real property known as Lot 1 and Lot 2, and depicted in plans known as Lot Line Alteration Plan, Courtwood Ventures, Inc., 300 Van Wagner Road, Town of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, New York, in substantially the form attached, and be it further resolved that such acceptance and authorization by the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie is subject to the approval of all final documents by the Town Attorney, Planning Board Attorney, Town Engineer, and the Director of Municipal Development for the Town of Poughkeepsie. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Number 16 is just a notice of claim and for legal, Murphy versus the town. That brings us to the end of the agenda. I'd like the motion to suspend the rules for any items.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Would anybody like to, Doreen?
Yeah, Jay, about the tax cert for Selden Properties. So the resolution says 2519 to 2521 South Road, but the impact settlement statement there says 2641 South Road. So what's the difference in the 2 addresses?
I'll find out from you.
Okay, and then the other thing is, we got the, our new assessment for the town for the value of our property, and it went up about $15,000. And I know that, you know, we see these tax certs for these, you know, businesses, and they keep getting their assessments lowered. So I have concerns about the fact that it seems that residential is going up and businesses are going down. Now, I don't know, do you know, Jay, across the board what the like the percentage was, or for town residences if they increased?
It was in the area of 10%, Doreen, and I was
Okay.
having a discussion with the assessor today on the fact that we're going up and some of the other towns were out of line also. And that doesn't affect our town tax, but affects the school tax. That some of the local towns, they're supposed to be like 97%, give or take a percent. Some of them were actually knocked down to like 92% this year because their numbers were way off. So that may help us with the school, with like Wappinger School District, which is in the bigger districts. And as far as like the businesses go, Doreen, you are correct. That's been my concern. And I discussed that with Jennifer today. And we do see some coming down. We have new commercial coming on. And also the utility number went up because Central Hudson and them have been doing a lot of upgrades. So the utility number for taxes is going up. She's gonna dig a little deeper and see where we stand, because I was nervous along the lines, we had the conversation before, Doreen, is if the businesses with the vacancies and the COVID is affecting their bottom line, we all know that's based on their balance sheets, is how they come in, that I was nervous of how this was going. And Jennifer seemed to think that we're not going to be as bad off as it looked in the beginning because of what is coming on the books. But she's going to dig in a little deeper. Doreen, maybe I can have a better answer for you in another week, because she just got the utility numbers in, recently. So she said that was a good number because there's been a lot of upgrades to Central Hudson, Verizon, Spectrum, and all of them. So that number is actually going up. So there is another decent number that may be able to offset some of the commercial.
Okay, and then I just hope that, again, as I've said before, as far as the pilots and the sales tax exemptions and the mortgage tax exemptions, all of those tax exemptions are given to, businesses, but the average person is, not able to get those. So that's of concern. So, all right, thanks, Jay.
Yeah, but Doreen, as you did state right there, and just to make sure people know that May is grievance day, so if people do have a grievance with their tax number, contact the assessor's office to set up for the grievance to grieve their assessment number.
Jay, if I might, just for clarification, the increase in the assessments people will receive will increase their tax bill next year, not this year, right?
Bill, not necessarily increase the bill. We have to look at the bottom line to see what the actual value is throughout the town, residential and commercial. If commercial goes down, this is just using this as a scenario. If commercial goes down a lot and residential goes up a lot, they will see an increase. But if the commercial we have coming online can balance out commercial that's going down, if they all went up, residents went up the same, it would stay flat. Besides just the increase, say we go up 1% or something, it would be that increase. But we don't know that number until it gets closer to the end where we see what the actual final numbers are. We'll try to come back with a better number with that.
So, Jay, so the residents in the town who are in the Arlington Fire District, they got an 8% tax increase from the fire district. Now, if I understand what you're telling me, that increase for this tax period doesn't necessarily go on with the increase in the assessed value for the next tax bill. Am I making myself clear?
No, Bill,
here?
their budget amount goes on, but if we have enough residential total assessed value, it may keep the number flat, or if they still come up with an 8% increase, it's still an 8% increase. But the fear is there's a commercial and a residential balance. If one goes down, the other one goes up, it means the other one has to pick up the difference there. So if we can get more commercial to go up and the residential, if it goes up and it stays, the same number in that direction, even though the value of somebody's house went up. A good scenario is when we did the reval, some of the houses were only valued at, say, 35% of their value. We raised them all to 100%. It didn't necessarily raise their taxes, because everybody was going to 100%. But in this case, if the businesses are going down and the residents are going up, it could be an issue, but we don't know that answer yet. I was discussing that with Jennifer this afternoon to dig deeper. And when she found out the utility number was going up, that helps a little bit, because we do get an assessed value on all the phone lines, the cable lines, and things of that nature throughout the town. So they do pay a good tax number. And we know Central Hudson's done a lot of gas work, line work, Cablevision's done a lot of work, Spectrum. So those numbers are going up. So that may help offset some of the commercial. I should hopefully,
Okay.
by next meeting, maybe answer that question better.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Nobody here?
No.
Jeff?
Do you want to
See?
resume the rules?
Right, you ready?
One thing, Jeff. We're going to executive session right now. Yeah. All right, I just said one thing. I just want to thank the residents of Underhill Road for coming out for a cleanup on Saturday. Enjoyed working with you guys, and we'll see you next year when we do it again. All right, good. You're good.
Okay, be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby adjourn to executive sessions to consider the following: discussion regarding proposed pending or current litigation, Glenn vs. Town and Rattle vs. Town. The proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property when publicity would substantially affect the value thereof. to discuss matters which are exempt under open meeting law, including matters subject to the attorney-client privilege. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Town board goes in attorney-client at 7:50 PM. Thank you.